Hey guys, it's Malthor here once again with the update to the, we'll still call it CoCSpin, two-handed CoCSpin Pathfinder character using Cyclone, and then the main damage dealer being Blade Vortex, and of course Bladefall is actually starting to do quite a lot of work in this point as well, which you should see throughout these clips. For the most part, Bladefall is there to just have a huge screen-wide AoE clear, while Blade Vortex is going to be dealing the chunkiness of the damage, especially against single target. Now that I've finally got my sword crafted, which I'll show you guys in a couple minutes, it has just become a dream to play. Prior to the sword, I had, shitty accuracy because I really wasn't scaling accuracy at all, and I was missing a bit of damage that I did crucially need from the sword as well. And once you actually get the hits can't be evaded, your proc rates go absolutely through the roof, your damage on single target becomes incredible, and the playstyle overall just becomes buttery smooth. There were a few little kinks I had to work out with survivability, incorporating a cast when damage taken setup with Immortal Call, getting a bit more life, as well as making sure I keep Fortify up against the tougher encounters, and squeezing a Tsiri Flask into the build and dropping a Silver Flask altogether, just using a Jewel to get some onslaught happening as well. So unfortunately, for this to be truly smooth, there is a slight barrier of entry of having a pretty good sword that we did of course self-craft, and that's pretty much how you're going to be making all of these, self-crafting. But one thing I have learned throughout doing this is that you probably don't need crit strike chance on the sword itself, so that does loosen up your alt regaling just a little bit. So if you fail one suffix, you can probably go ahead and multi-mod around that sword regardless and have a shit suffix, and it shouldn't really matter. But now that the build is up and running and got the sword and everything fine-tuned, it's probably one of the smoothest mappers bosses combined that I've pretty much ever played. As you can see here with the Chimera, we don't wait for the ads, we don't wait for them to spawn, we don't go to a single location, you just run in and shred each and every pack. And it's rare that I want to show you an entire Chimera run because it does go a bit long and it is a bit of a boring fight in pure clip form, but it's so quick in this one that we just zoom straight through it. You can face tank most of the things if you want, and it's just about keeping up your speed. You can use all kinds of flasks continuously, so thanks to being a Pathfinder, I just constantly mash my flasks from pack to pack on these ads, and that is a beautiful thing to do because usually you have to try and stagger your flasks and save them so that you have some of the DPS for Chimera himself. As a Pathfinder, fear not, you will always have your flasks up, and that does bring me to the point that you could probably do this much better as a Scion if you have a slight bigger investment in some other jewels and all that, but I will give you guys a Scion tree as well for this type of build where you can go Pathfinder plus, if you want more tankiness, then Slayer. If you want a bit more DPS and Reflect immunity, probably Elementalist, or just Inquisitor for some other various things. But yeah, Scion should work out just as well, I'd say, but I rolled Pathfinder for this purely because I wanted to have the smoothness of the flasks and run very fast, and Pathfinder does help you run a lot faster. But yes, as I was saying, it's a very smooth boss and mapper because the character's almost hit 95 now. It's pretty rare that I will take a character to 95 simply because I would get bored before then, or it's not that great for overall bossing and mapping combined, whereas this character, I kept on leveling, I kept on doing Uber Elders and Deep Delves and all kinds of shitty Guardian maps throughout the leveling process, never really stopped to hopefully not have any XP after a level to go for Uber Elder. Instead, I'm just chugging on through, doing Deathless Uber Elder after Deathless Uber Elder, never dying to any of the Guardians, pretty much never dying to almost anything except for some fairly bullshit Syndicate interaction, as we all might suffer from every now and again. But the delving has been absolutely amazing with this guy. It's very fast to run through these delves, and it's a pretty easy spin through these narrow corridors to just shit on everything. And it actually almost feels a bit too quick, a bit too easy, because you then just run out of sulfite and think, where did all my sulfite go? That was too quick. Did also come across one level 83 Kurgal, the Lich fight, and for the most part, yeah, pretty easy. He just, he's fairly tanky, he's got a few little immunity phases, so it can be annoying, and it is the first actual boss I think I've seen this entire league in the delves, because Sulfite is rather hard to come by. But the boss doesn't put up much of a fight once you get your Blade Vortex stacks going, and of course you've always got your Val RF and Val Blade Vortex in the back pocket to deal some absurd damage. So I want to go over the last few little changes for you guys and what the character is going to look like at this point, and then show you the Deathless Uber Elder run. So to start with, I suppose I will go over the sword, but also, yep, as you can see, level 94, almost level 95, and it took me about 30 hours to hit level 94 while doing a bunch of Uber Elders and a bunch of sword crafting, so it was very fast getting to this point, at least by my standards. That's the completed sword, so what you're looking for ideally is a cast on crit with a double damage mod to start with. You can then imprint with the beast if you really want to be safe about it, and then once it regals anything bad you try and annul it, so you get these two mods isolated. If you, however, don't really want to wait for an imprint beast, something like that, you can just regal it and then get, let's say, a fairly shit suffix. Doesn't really matter what suffix, and then multi-mod around that, because in the end, the crit chance on the sword isn't super important. It is optimal, but you can definitely get away without that. So a bad suffix won't kill this. What you're mostly looking for is the cast on crit, the double damage, and then being able to craft hits can't be evaded, and ideally an extra big spell damage, non-chaos damage roll. Those are pretty good as well. So that's what the sword looks like by itself, and it should cost you something like 10 exalts to craft. Let's just say conservatively, could go up, could go down, depending on your luck. For me, it did cost about 10 exalts. The rest of the gear really is just kind of flexible, kind of up to you. I wouldn't stress too much about copying my exact shit. You could even drop Lore Weave for combs if you really want, and retwig your setup a bit, and then you could get much more life if you really wanted. But I did drop a Star Conjure in favor of going for a Fossil Helmet, just so I could get a bit more life out of the build. Gotta pretty importantly try and get the extra damage as cold, lightning, or fire there. That's quite a bit of damage. But from the previous video, nothing else has really changed, except for the fact that I did change my one jewel over here to have blind on hit and onslaught on kill. Not super important to get that. It's just going to smoothen out your clear speed a bit, because I did end up dropping the onslaught flask for its Aerie Flask most of the time. I still run this flask during curse maps, but you can just roll the curse mod here onto your diamond if you don't really want to mess around with swapping flasks ever again. However, you will be losing out on a little bit of crit if you do that. So that's most of the changes there. Did also maybe respec a bit just to grab some life, and grab one life and damage jewel over here. But the rest I think hasn't changed from before, and that's probably all I need to talk about in changes, aside from the fact that I did incorporate Immortal Call, cast on damage taken, and increased duration. You've got to make sure that you get your Warlord's Mark going with the curse on hit, how do we call it, brand recall, so it would be a lot easier on you if you just get a Warlord's Mark ring instead. But it's kind of tough to get a good one if you're not going to bother multi-modding, something like that. A Warlord's Mark ring would be a lot simpler, and then comboed with the fact that we have Soul of Arakali, and you buff it up with Capture Queen of the Great Tangle, that does make your leech a lot nicer. So you have that 50% increased recovery rate every single time you take an Immortal Call cast on damage taken going off, because by default you are degenning with Blood Rage. Once Immortal Call pops up, you stop taking that damage, and then get that buff happening. So it is pretty handy to have that for your leech. And then of course just Soul of Yugel upgraded. So that's the Pantheons, and the path of building for us looks something like this in the end. You should be looking at something like 180k Blade Vortex damage, and something like 130k Blade Fall. Now these are average, so that just means the average hit is going to be about that hard, and of course you are hitting a lot more and a lot more frequently than that, so that doesn't mean 180,000 DPS, it just means on average you're hitting for that much, and chances are you're hitting something like 5 times a second. with your Blade Vortex and your Blade Fall. And then if you want to look at your Cyclone crit chance and crit rate and all that, that's roughly where we're at now that we have our sword. If you don't spec for any accuracy at all and you have shit accuracy and have the other sword, it's going to be pretty pathetic. It's something like that. So you definitely have to plan around accuracy if you're not going for a double damage hits can't be evaded sword. So that's about it for that. I do also have a Scion tree to show you guys if you want that. I'll link that in the build thread, and it's pretty versatile. You can grab Pathfinder, Elementalist, Inquisitor, Slayer, doesn't really matter. So this was in the end probably one of my smoothest overall mapping endgame type characters. It is built around a sword though, so take that for what it's worth. If you can't get the ideal sword, maybe it's not strictly worth doing, but it is still pretty good even without the best sword out there. It'll work off of much worse ones, and like I said, I got to level 91 off of a blue sword. So it does work. It's just that if you want it to feel like a god tier character, you're gonna have to put all of the pieces together nicely. I will just say one other thing, lore weave, really not that necessary. If you just went a pure life chest instead, like 120 life, 10% life, something like that, even Belly of the Beast style type chest, you would shoot up to about 6,700 life without even needing to use a combs or changing the setup. You just wouldn't have the benefits that lore weave gives you. Right, so that's about it for that character. I'll leave you guys with one of like 7 or 8 Deathless Uber Elder kills. They were all Deathless. Maybe I died once, I don't remember. But they were pretty damn smooth, and here's one of them. Thank you very much for watching, guys, and see you next time.
And fester.
I really buttered that up. I think I spin too fast at the moment with a Quicksilver. It's like easy to overshoot where I want to be. And this damage is like, I don't know, it's hard to fucking control because I do one spin through all of that and they die. And I'm just not fucking used to that. That's the ideal situation there though. For him to do that while he swaps into that. That's my ball, right? Yeah, okay. I have 2 balls I have to get rid of? No, just 1. Jesus. It's fucking hard to keep track of that shit. Whoop, whoop, whoop. I did those phases pretty poorly, to be honest. Ball size not even, yeah, and that's what I'm doing while in the middle of the intense fucking dodging and fight. Measuring the fucking diameter, circumference, and fucking density of the balls that are flying at me. Never lucky. Oh god, it's actually the worst possible fucking outcome. That's like so bad.